right, welcome to Hit and Sit Show number 22. This one's going to be all about the Challenge Cup. We have the conference commissioner, Strojan Kennison, who also is the brainchild behind the Challenge Cup with us. We have Josh Kirsten from MPT Reynolds, Juneau Athletics, center fielder. We have Dave Bear filling in for us today. Appreciate him coming. A pitcher for Siteman this year and Louisville Slugger. And of course, Joel Sanchez, shortstop for S&E, swings DeMarini. We're going to jump right into it with Stro. He's got to go here in a few minutes for some meetings. So Stro, we were wondering what year is this of the Challenge Cup? How did the original idea come about? And if you could comment on the growth and the divisions that are going on this weekend and over the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. First off, thanks for having me. The Challenge Cup is the 5th year of the Challenge Cup. Year one, we had a total of, I believe it was 6 states and 23 teams participate. And in that first year, the men's major division itself was 8 teams, but 3 of those teams were B teams. So the B, we took those B teams and merged them together, and they actually basically melted together, and we were able to make the event take off. That same year, we only had a total of 3 women's teams, and the 3 women's teams that played, my wife and Kirsten Dowling sat and cold called up and down the East Coast, offering to pay the entry fee, pay for the hotel rooms, pay for these ladies to come be a part of the event. And at the end of the day, we ended up with a Pennsylvania group, a group from Oregon, and a group from Washington, a 3-team division. And here we are 5 years later. The women's major division has 18 teams. The women's C division has 27 teams. The women's D division has 22 teams. And there was an overwhelming request for us to start a women's E division as well as a women's B division for the Challenge Cup. On the men's side, we had to take and separate the men's D and the E and give them their own weekend because like Joel, as you see his eyes there in the upper corner of my screen, all the players in year 3, we were 24/7 for 80 straight hours. I was officially the only person that stayed awake the entire time for that event. And it was, in my opinion, that weekend created the buzz of what we have now because we've been able to grow from that. So it's continued its growth with the Black American program, the Hispanic and Native American programs with the International Cup next week, and then the seniors and mixed division. That weekend's completely sold out. This vision started in about 2009, 2010. I said, I really want to build an event where it pits the best players against one another. Every person that I went to told me it was a stupid idea. It told me it will never work. I continued to push for it. In 2017, 2017 at the National Convention, I was once again told, no, the directors, nobody wanted to do it. Doc Beckwell stood up in that meeting and said, let's take a look at this. So I had presented the idea to Junior in September, shortly before that meeting, and I explained to him my idea. He goes, make it happen. So I then took it to the committee, and it was pretty much shot down. And some people finally got to see my really dark side, because it takes a lot for me to get upset with something. I'm pretty quiet about stuff, but when I get upset, I think in my time with USSSA, I've blown my gasket a total of 5 times. This was one of those 5 times. DW, you felt me blow my gasket once.
I did.
So when that took and had the 23 teams that year, and we rolled with it. And when I blow my gasket, it's not because I'm angry or I have hate or anything. It's the passion I have within this game of softball. That's when I boil over, it's the passion of the hard work that goes into it amongst everybody, not just for myself, but everybody involved. And I had this vision that I wasn't going to let anybody tell me that we can't do it. And that's my background. I work in the fire service. I was told you'll never be a medic. Well, I'm on my 18th year of being a medic. I've been told a lot of things that I love the challenge, hence the Challenge Cup. Hence the reason why this year, and so you guys being military can respect this, that we finally got it to happen. The all tournament members of the Challenge Cup are going to be given a challenge coin that it's really cool. So it's continuing to evolve. I don't think we're halfway to where this event is going to end up. Within my goal within 7 years was to have 7 countries involved in the Challenge Cup. This year, I've been able to get technically 4 countries because one of the South Texas teams, most of their players came from Mexico, but we have Canada, we have the US, we have Venezuela, and we have a group that's from Mexico. And some of the Eastern Canadian players love to say that they're their own country at times. But I believe that a conversation I had with a U.S. Marshal from the U.S. Virgin Islands, he's going to work with us to bring a U.S. Virgin Islands team and then work to bring Caribbean island countries to represent at the Challenge Cup. And I wouldn't be surprised if Europe is involved here in the next 2-3 years.
Right. So 23 teams to 450 teams over 4 weekends in just 6 years. The growth's been astronomical. This weekend we have the men's major, B and C. If you could share my screen, shows all the weekends with all the different divisions. We have all the women's this weekend. And then International Cup, Black, Hispanic, Native American coming up. Stro, I know you got to go, and I appreciate all your information, but I want to put you on the spot here and take you back to 2000. What year is this? I'm not even sure.
That is West Coast Dorflinger 2012, my final conference at bat.
Right. So Stro is batting at the plate with the bases loaded, I believe 2 outs. And I think, who are you playing here? Northwest Combat?
We're playing my old team, the combat group and this is a knockout game, and they pulled the substitution rule, hence where we now have substitution rule. They tried to pull a rule out of their hat that wasn't true back then. Anyways, we got 2 players ejected, so myself and Rick Dorflinger had to enter the game at this point in time. Otherwise, the game was over. We forfeited. What they didn't know is that Rick Dorflinger was not on the roster. Rick Dorflinger went in to run, and he's over at third base over here running, and I am hitting. They walked to pitch to me.
Yeah, Rick's one of the great sponsors. Used to be in the conference. I miss that guy. Here's Stro at the plate, 2 outs, bases loaded, bottom of the 7th. He hasn't swung a bat all day. I don't think he had a bat all year. Here it is. Base hit in the Seattle Major to knock off his old team. And West Coast Dorflinger advances. I just wanted to share
on
that
VHS, TW?
What's that?
That video on VHS?
Yeah, it's an old one on my YouTube channel, but
is pretty
There
old.
you have. We appreciated you stopping by, and we're gonna continue on and check out the rosters and some things.
I appreciate
There you
just in closing, the this event is different than any other tournament. This is the Olympics of softball. It's a different vibe, different feeling. There's certain uniform policies that are sort of like the conference in play, and the image or the vision behind that, where the shirts tucked in, hats worn forward, all that stuff. That vision is similar to being able to play in Wimbledon. You can only wear a white uniform and no sponsorships. The Challenge Cup, we want you to represent, and you're representing your state flag and the people back home. And that's the look we're going for. I'll see some of you guys down here. Congratulations, Joel, again on your baby, and Dave, recover from that knee injury. And Josh, we'll see you shortly. Thanks, you guys.
All right, appreciate you stopping by, Stro. And we're going to continue here. Our next topic is just your best story or memory from the Challenge Cup. And I know I don't even know if everyone's played in the Challenge Cup. I'll just start quickly. Mine, I've covered 4 of the Challenge Cup. I missed one. I tore my Achilles. I couldn't walk, so I missed it. And I missed the first one as well. They only had 23 teams. But my favorite memories was Colorado. Almost beat Florida last year, if you remember that. It was a great game. You can see that one on YouTube. Canada beating Florida. I think that was the first or second year in the major division. That was a huge upset. And then I covered the Wounded Warriors, played an exhibition game. I did a condensed game. Phenomenal talent those guys have, being after what they've gone through. So I want to go around the room real quick. We'll start with Josh. Your favorite memory or story surrounding the Challenge Cup over the years?
Listen, there's only one thing for me, for us Ohioans, and that's the record that we hold, right? You can talk about the most wins in the Challenge Cup. You can talk about, whatever you want, but there's only one record that stands out, and that's that we have the record for the most ties in the Challenge Cup. All right. There's no doubt about it. Ohio has the most ties. We look to add on to it this year, right? We've got Georgia and Indiana in our pool play. Sounds like 2 more ties, but at least one. So we hope to add on to that record and make it non-catchable.
Yeah, tell us real quick. How hard is it to come from Ohio and play softball this time of year? I know I personally would go out there and make a fool of myself.
It's a few things. I mean, it's the anxiety of it. Like you're so anxious to be out there because it's warmer weather than what you're used to, that you've been in the last couple of months. And all we do for hitting perspective is hit in tunnels, right, in cages. And so you're so narrow visioned on that, and trying to just gauge and get ready for the game again. But we got to do a better job of competing. We just, the last couple of years, it's just more like we're happy to be there type of deal. We got to get out there and compete and compete to win some games. And but it's, do other states have legs up on us because they get to play outside, all year round or more often than we do? Sure. But at the end of the day, we've got enough talent on that roster, and we just got to overcome it.
Yeah, Ohio has the roster. I think it's just the fact that you're coming from Ohio. It's just hard to play this time of year. Right. Dave, have you played in the Challenge Cup, and what's your favorite story or memory?
Unfortunately, no, we haven't played in it. South Carolina's not put a team in. North Carolina and Georgia combined a couple of years back kind of skipped over us. The only person in South Carolina worth having is Bradley Jones, apparently. But yeah, it's one of those things that we just haven't really had a chance to go. We're gonna do a North Carolina, South Carolina this year, but unfortunately, all of our pitchers either have babies or injuries that they're recovering from, so it's just didn't work out yet.
Right. Joel, you come from Florida. It is a tough nut to crack, that roster. We're going to look at the rosters here in a minute. I'm going to say you've never played in a Challenge Cup, but what is your memory or thoughts on the Challenge Cup?
Well, funny how when I even first heard of the Challenge Cup, I was in North Carolina. So like the past 10 years, I've lived in North Carolina. I got my license there. I got my life set up there. It's just one of those things. So then the first time I got asked for the Challenge Cup was 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, I'm in because they were going to merge with Virginia. So it's going to be a North Carolina, Virginia team. And then my wife told me we were pregnant, and it's her birthday. Then it's that one's birthday. And my second one's birthday is in January. So the past 2 years. And then from here on out, I'm just like, well, I consolidated everyone's birthday, everything I can do in January, thinking that's the off season, you know. Like, oh, I got a little chance to be like, hey man, you coming? It's not that I haven't been asked several times on every single year. I have too much on this side of the plate where it's like I think that's one of the few times where I'm like, hey, I really can't, because I'm one of those guys where like backyard, like Friday night, you'd be like, babe, pack the car, we're going tomorrow. You know, it's like, but it's like one of those things in January. But when they first asked me, that my favorite thing to talk about was Tyler Wiles. He's my best friend in the conference. He tells me, he's like, hey man, you coming with us to the Challenge Cup? And I go, nah, sorry man, we're gonna my first one's about to be born on that weekend. And I watched them play into 3, 4 in the morning, and he was so angry at one of those at bats that he hits one off the jumbotron, never hitting out of the stadium ever. And then they finished so fast. They got knocked out of the tournament so fast that if I would have played, I would have came back in time for my firstborn to be.
You would have still made the birthday.
I would have still made the. I would have still made the birth. So
that was a rough year when they got overloaded on teams coming down, and they only had one weekend to shove them all in, so they played through the night. That was a rough year, but the Challenge Cup's gotten a lot better since then. We're going to go on to the rosters. So we're going to focus on the Men's Major Challenge Cup. So if you can see my screen, there's your list of teams this year. We're missing, of course, like the North Carolina, the whole Carucci, New York, New Jersey team isn't there this year in the way it was in the past. We do have Team Canada coming down to play, Canada West. So we're going to take a look at that. And then here's the pool play. They break them out in the pools. I should have asked Stro how they do that. Josh, do you know how they do that?
I don't. I only assume they make Florida a 1 seed and Texas a 2 seed. That's all I figure.
Yeah, you want to avoid that Florida pool. But as I look at it here, we're going to go over the rosters. But Georgia, Indiana, Ohio's an interesting one. They're all actually pretty well.
There's a lot of dark horses. There's a lot of sneaky, real good teams in there.
Yeah, I would say the Texas,
Kentucky,
like
don't overlook Kentucky. Kentucky's won it before, and they are extremely good and loaded.
Kentucky's really good. So we're going to take a look at the rosters here. Just real quick, here's the game times for Friday. The men's major division plays on 3 fields. They play on the baseball fields with the stadium ball. I don't know. I'm sure there's a home run limit.
16, I think.
16. But there you go. They start at 8 a.m. Eastern time on 3 fields. They play till the 240 game. After the 240 games, they break those pools into seeds into a double elimination bracket starting at 4 p.m. Friday night. And that's when the full camera coverage, this is all on USSSA Live, but the full camera coverage will start at 4 o'clock on Friday. And we have to look at the bracket before we can say who's going to announce which games, but we're definitely looking for people to announce one game this weekend that are interested. Josh, if you're there and you're interested. So let's go on to the rosters and get everyone's opinion. Here's pool number 1. California, Louisiana, Mississippi combined, and Oklahoma. Hopefully we see that on the screen. California looks to me all conference players. That's for sure a double-A team caliber. Louisiana as well looks like Kyle Pearson, Buckshot Plaisance. Going back to California real quick, you got the Ramirez brothers, Brian DeZern, Donald Hollingsworth looks like he's healthy and coming back. Jared Hunt, Demario Boyd, the RBI man. Louisiana, You got Kyle Pearson, but that's probably a double-A team if you went by points. And then Oklahoma over here has a big Seminoles influence with Matt Cochran, Oliver Odell, and some of those guys. Shannon Smith mixed in there, Toby Leatack. So let's go around the room. Joel, you're first on pool number 1. What do you think? Who do you think will win that pool?
I think pool number 1, compared to all the other pools, like might not be like the highest out of all the 4, but it's the most even, I believe. Because California, you got Bud Dezern, you got Chad Erickson, you got Gonzalez, and then you got Trailer. And then you're like, oh yeah, all those dudes are good. And then you hop over to Louisiana, and then you see Mr. Pearson, and you see Zane Miggs, and then you see Logan Rogers. You see how all those dudes, you'll be like, all those dudes are from there. And then you hop over to Oklahoma, and then you have your fair share over there, where it's like not so much in the higher ups, but then like you spread them out pretty evenly. So it's like anyone can take that, but I'm gonna lean over to California, just because like I feel like all those dudes constantly play with. There's a little bit more of a like a chemistry over this, like a West Coast type of deal. Like it's more like a Bay Area classic glass type mixture in there. So it's like
the classic glass field of California, Louisiana. You got Pearson, you got Miguez. Lonnie Cheatwood was the A-World offensive MVP. So, and they got the pitching with Buckshot. So, Josh, what do you think about pool number 1?
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with Joel. I think it's gonna be between California and Louisiana, and I think Louisiana is not to be slept on. Randy Frederick kind of went a little unmentioned there, but that guy's a baller. And like you said, Zane and Logan and KP, and interesting enough, Cody and Logan even playing for Louisiana because they live in Florida. But it's those two teams are really good. It's gonna be when do they play each other? DW.
Let's see. We can go to where you see them on there. Louisiana.
Game 1.
Game, 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern. That could be rough for California. It's 5 a.m. their time.
That'll be a good game. Game 1.
Dave, what do you think about pool number 1?
I mean, I think that California, like Joel was talking about, a lot of those guys play together a good bit. I mean, the vast majority of that roster looks like it looks like basically a classic glass roster, to be honest. And then Louisiana, Mississippi, I mean, I think the one thing that they have more so than anybody else in that's they got 2 people that are really good pitchers. I mean, McClanahan's a good pitcher for Cali, but you got McClanahan and Trailer, but that's not Buckshot and Dakota. So, I mean, I think Oklahoma's just a little outmatched in that. So I would say it's probably Cali because they play together a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if Louisiana won that.
I would say all 3 teams should have good chemistry. California playing at 8 a.m. a big game against Louisiana could come back to haunt them.
That matchup over there, that Zane Miggs, McClanahan, Dezern, Logan Rogers matchup, like that gets my deals going for the defense.
Real good infield.
Logan Rogers with the extra base hits. We're going to move on to pool number 2. We'll start with Dave. Canada, West. A lot of those players look like they're from the Team Canada that played Team USA. I recognize a lot of those names. The guys to watch are Justin Pinnell, a big left-hand extra base hitter, and Hunter Platten, a lot of power. The Iowa, South Dakota, they put together a pretty good team considering the area of the country they're in. Brett Redmeyer, Travis Hausman leading that way with Alex Hobie, who has a lot of experience playing against the upper level players. And then Texas, they won it last year, loaded top to bottom, adding Billy Sanders with 4 homers in 1 game at the major this year. They got the coaching, they got the team, they got pitching depth. What do you think, Dave?
Well, another guy on Canada to look out for him is my boy Jeff Andrews. He played with the Young Tradesman a few years back. That's another one. But this looks like it's all Texas all day. Like I don't see anything else Texas, that's an easy walkthrough, I think. I mean, I say easy, but they also get the break that Josh was talking about earlier about being able to play a little bit more. So, I mean, those guys should be still pretty fresh and going. So I don't think that anybody else has a chance in that one.
And Texas would be rated a major team if that team was in the conference. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Texas is the heavy favorite here. I would say I don't know much about the Canada West team there, but I will say Iowa and South Dakota, if you catch them on a scrap, you've got some scrappy guys there with Austin Andrews, Brett Rettenmeyer, Travis Hausman that we know, and some people don't know who Alex Hovey and Quinn Kanoy are. And I've played against those guys the last couple of years in ASA ball. And again, that doesn't always translate, but those two guys can play. Like those are two very good ball players right there. Alex Hovey for a pitcher whacks it. And honestly, I'm a little surprised in maybe my lack of knowledge here that he hasn't had a shot at the conference, unless he has, and I'm just ignorant to that. But I think Texas is the heavy favorite, but I think Iowa could scrap. I mean, they might shock, keep it close a little bit.
Yeah, Quinn Kanoy played center field for the USA Future Stars as well. Did a nice job. Joel, any comments on pool number 2?
Yeah, no, I'm not necessarily familiar with a lot of the Canada guys, but this Iowa up the middle, there's a whole lot of defense going on. So if you got Andrews and Rettenmeyer in the middle, and they're like all those dudes follow that type of caliber, that might have some type of shield against the offensive firepower that's over here in Texas. Because and here's my other favorite part: we have Tyler Irvine at third base. That's going to be awesome to watch. We've been seeing him at the other side of the corner, and not a lot of people give him a whole lot of credit, but like he can do some damage over there. It's going to be interesting to see him on the other side. Shout out to my buddy Cody Schumacher. He's up and coming. They've been doing a lot of big things out there. That's one of Tim Barnes' boys. They've been doing a lot of Texas rosters. That's always been banana sandwich every year. So it's not so unless you could stop that hit parade every inning. Like it seems like Texas is going to take that.
Yeah, it was that Eric Canopy that pitched them to the championship last year. Even though they have a bunch of other pitchers, they got left-hand power, they got right-handed power. Just so everybody knows, the positions and the numbers on here are just pulled from U-Trip. That's not necessarily where they're going to play, but I could see Irvine possibly playing third.
No, Brandon Miller's pitching. I can't see Brandon Miller pitch. That's going to be interesting.
Tim Barnes, statistician. All right, pool number 3. Colorado, Kentucky, Virginia. Colorado doesn't even have a full roster available for us, so maybe they're still trying to buy flights. Remember, they had Florida on the ropes in the semifinals last year, a hit away, I think, from winning that game. Jonathan Sierra, great defensive player. Dustin Wager, underrated hitter, veteran pitcher. Lawson White. Kentucky's loaded top to bottom. Would this be a major team, you think?
Yes.
Josh?
Yeah.
Point-wise, they're probably a major team with Mullins, Pinkham, Riley, Phil, man. So they had some big right-hand hitters. Mitch Lendensky, the extra base hit man. And then Virginia, a Chick-fil-A feel, but you sort of take Chick-fil-A, you add in a Chris Aninos, you add in Brandon Jackson, who's been playing great stadium ball, and you add the big man, Corbin Hunt, one of the best Florida power hitters in the game. So this is an interesting bracket. You're from that area, Dave. We'll start with you.
I'm not from that area. No.
The Virginia kind of.
I mean, I know a lot of those guys. We play 95 times a year, it feels like. But no, I mean, I don't know a lot of the Colorado guys. I know Wager, I know Sierra. That's really about it. So I can't. Well, I mean, they got Lawson on there. Lawson's a veteran. So I mean, puncher's chance there. I mean, Kentucky has got power like nobody's business. Plus, you have the Major World Series. I mean, Major World Series winning pitcher and Bill Pinkham's, and he's playing all the time. So you're pretty solid there. And then Virginia, you're basically Chick-fil-A with some BAF and MPT mixed in. So, I mean, those guys have got a lot of chemistry together. So I think it's going to be Kentucky, Virginia there. I'm leaning more toward Kentucky than Virginia, though.
Yeah, Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, DW, but Colorado loses Tommy Melton. I know he's in Tennessee now. I think he was in Colorado the last couple of years,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a knock on Colorado's roster. But they are scrappy, like you mentioned. I know we tied them, shocker, and lost to them in 1 year, so that was fun. But Kentucky, I mean, guys that we obviously you've got your standouts of Phil and Josh and Chad and Pinkham, but guys to keep an eye on that they don't get a lot of notice. But Alonzo Fields, Kyle Whitlock, very, very good defensively. Cody Angus, very, very good defensive first baseman. I'm not sure how much he's going to get to play with that lineup, but they're loaded. They really are. And Virginia is Dave, you mentioned they've got some chemistry going there because some Chick-fil-A, BAF, and they've got talent too, right? I mean, they've certainly got. I got to give the odds-on favorite to Kentucky right now.
Is Angus?
Yeah, Virginia also adds Corey Booth. What do you think, Joel?
Yeah.
This Virginia Kentucky thing, like all I know is I'm walking Phil Matt, Josh Riley, and Mullins every single time. You better have Mitch Lendensi's going to lead the power in that team the whole time like he did in the major, and he better come out swinging because all those three dudes are getting walked every single time. And I feel like that wouldn't be a bad strategy because Virginia has a lot of energy over here on this. Like Josh Brown, like not overlooked, but like still sort of underrated. Like that dude is he's a jacked squirrel out there. He just goes from left to right, fat, and he'll hit you some like grown man line drives that really like stun you. So like that's starting off, and then you got Aninos, and then you got all through the line, Mr. Porter. It's like, yeah, it's a little Chick-fil-A feel, but that's good for like the stamina and the like that might be able to. I'm saying I just walk those three every single time. Like, sorry, fellas, you're gonna get your cardio in. Like, it is what it is. But
Yeah, when I'm
it's easy to
mentioning
pick Kentucky, but I can see Virginia pulling it out.
Yeah, when I'm mentioning the players that they added that aren't Chick-fil-A, I forgot all about, you're right, underrated, Josh Brown. He made maybe the greatest play in conference history in Cincinnati that 1 year in the 5-6 hole playing shortstop. We'll go on to pool number 4. This is a good one. Arizona, Florida, Tennessee. These teams are stacked with conference players. There may not be a non-conference player hardly on these teams. Let's start with Joel this time. You got Danny Lopez out there for Arizona, probably pitching. Corey Miller, Nick Day returning. Dan Kirkwood. That's probably a Double-A team. They might be a little over on points for Double-A. Florida team, major all the way. Like they can make 2 teams out of Florida, as we know. And then Tennessee, pretty much stacked. Marshburn now in Tennessee. Heath Barnes, the Genters, Tommy Melton moved there. So what do you think, Joel? You know the Florida guys. You know how hard it is to get on that roster.
Yeah. I don't know who anyone is here. You're gonna let me know when the major roster comes out, because like I don't know where all these e-ballers are coming from. But this has to be the bracket to watch right here. This has to be the pool to watch, because my boy Corey Miller, he's gonna pitch to his defense. His defense is gonna work like a whole lot. So I hope they got their shoes tied on tight. Florida, usually when you have a super stacked team and you're excited to go to this tournament, but you guys don't really play that much, but you know everyone there's a stud. And in my experience, like 8 out of 10 times, we go 0-2. It's one of those things where it's such a stacked team. But everyone here has played with each other for so long that it was like my only question was like they kind of had an MVP there last year, and like he's I guess didn't get asked back. No biggie. Ira Brown. So I was like, that's one question that I got for some people. Tennessee, they got stacked overnight. That's awesome. Is that Barnes's brother, or that just so happens to be another Barnes?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because if there's 2 Barnes, now I got to worry about 2 of them. So like, okay, that's gonna be awesome. Overstreet, you got Melton, of course, and then adding Marshburn is always a giant plus there. But You got too many. You got too many dudes with like, in the best of ego sense, that are gonna win and get in your head from Florida. So it's like, if you could just ignore all that, like, because you got to get by Branch, then you got to get by Sanchez, then you got to get by Reyna, then you got to get by. So you just got to go in with like these earmuffs and like one of those like greyhounds that don't really see out the sides, you know. So, but I would really love for Arizona to just come out 0-2 on this one. Like that'll be
Yeah,
super.
they might be hurting with the time change as well with like an 8 a.m. game. But that's Ozzy Overstreet is not Kyle Overstreet. Kyle's, I think, with the Alabama team. But
Correct.
Josh, what do you think about pool number 4?
Yeah, let's move on. It's Florida.
Florida
Tennessee's got a good team. They certainly have good ball players. There's no doubt about it. Same with Arizona.
Yeah.
Just Florida makes me sick. Let's move on.
Dave Bear, what do you any comments?
I mean, I agree with Josh there. I mean, there's a couple people in this that I really would say for folks to kind of watch that are not with the Florida folks. Castaneda, the shortstop there from Arizona, he's a really good one to watch. Tubbs and Micah Genter, not JD. Micah is JD's son, I'm pretty sure. Those two from Tennessee are up and coming ball players that are really solid. I don't think that, I mean, the only thing that's going to stop Florida from winning this particular division is the whole, are they playing like they care thing. Other than that, I mean, there's way too much there to keep up with.
Now,
Tennessee does look good. I would say Tennessee looks good.
Dave, you're a pitcher, and Josh, you can chime in on this. I've seen Florida go up to the other team and say, look, we're not going to hit middle if you don't hit middle. And, you know, I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. It's an off-season tournament. You're using stadium balls. It's going to be 48 to 66 degrees. But the mentality that you then have is, are we truly here to win the game? So how does that play with the roster? What do you think, Josh?
Well, pool play is one thing. They're not going to do that in bracket play. They're going to play to win, right? So they might say that in pool play. I don't know, but I think the Tennessee guys are going to play to win the game. I think that's one thing they've got going for them. Tennessee could certainly be dangerous in the bracket play, and Arizona, right, in bracket play as well, because of the seedings that they're going to get. If Florida were to take the 1 seed, could make them dangerous wherever they fall in the bracket. But I don't know about to that point. But I know in bracket play, it's not going to be like that.
Yeah, Florida has the best roster, hands down. You know, Texas is close, but Florida has the best roster on paper. They have lost a lot of games over the years, but usually they wind up in the finals. What do you think, Dave, about the middle?
I mean, I get that in pool play, like Josh was saying, but realistically, I mean, if you look at their roster, you have the GOAT, Purcell. Yes, he's gotten older. He's probably not going to catch a lot that comes through there, especially early in the season. And I mean, it's a cold ball, stadium ball. I mean, okay. But then you got Dan Sanchez, and then God forbid something happens to both of them. You also have Austin Dahl, and you have Roxby, who's not afraid to get up there and do it. I mean, and if you do happen to really start something and it's 40 degrees, like 10 o'clock at night with a stadium ball, you're now having to field Collins. You're having to field Matusik, Bubba Mack, Jeremy Yates, Austin Dahl, Ryan. No.
Yeah, it's not a question. It's not a question of like, hey, we won't if you won't. I believe they're really in between the lines saying, I dare you. Like, it's one of those things that's not a surprise. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. Like, it's like an ego that like kind of puff your chest out, because like honestly, for that roster particularly, that's a great mentality, because let's say everybody there goes 0-2 and they're on the border of losing. All of a sudden, one of them just needs to hit middle, and then the other team gets mad. And what happens when they get mad? Everybody on this roster is like, oh, you want to get mad about it. I don't know how many games each and every single person on that team, once you get them rocking, like, that's it. It's just like, why do we get that guy mad? Just ignore that guy. Like, no, they're not about that. They want to set that fire early just in case. So there's too many dudes there. Bubba Mack hits middle on you, you had it coming.
I have to say too, Jason Matusik may have been the best player in stadiums last year. Offensively, what he did at the Hall of Fame Classic last year, and defensively, what he did at the men's major, robbing all those home runs. So he might have had the best year in stadiums. And then I almost want to say Purcell is listed as a coach. I don't know if he's playing. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
that's what I heard. He's a coach.
I'd be surprised if he's playing.
But no, I
Yeah.
think he's starting.
Dan Sanchez usually does the pitching, but we'll move on to pool number 5. We got Alabama, Connecticut / New York, and New Mexico. Alabama has a little bit of Bob Ford feel to it. Michael Rayner. They've added Daniel Caton has moved there. Underrated Jonathan Raspberry, played with O.I. Livingston over the years. Big Andrew Hall, played with Nitro Circus. Connecticut, New York. Scott Hartling, Joe Boland will probably try to carry the offense. John Ryman's an underrated center fielder. And of course, the pitcher, Mike Verbasco. Over in New Mexico, now this may be the team with the least known players, but Ryan Honeycutt and Misael Tavares, he played with Addictive. Garrett Gap, we've seen in the conference. Kenneth Doobie with LNS Glass. Who wants to start this one? Dave, we'll start with you. What do you think?
I mean, I think this is. I mean, if Bama doesn't win this one, I'd be kind of surprised. But I mean, Verbasco and his 18-inch glove up there, that's all been blown out, probably catches a lot through the middle, so that's a good thing. Did Bama get to add this just because he's called Bama, or does he actually live in Alabama now?
He moved there. I believe he bought a house. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And then Jobo lives in Florida, right, like 15 minutes from Mark Patterson. So I don't know how that works out. But yeah, either way, I mean, I think this is definitely an Alabama thing. I mean, the Kentucky or the New York folks, they have a chance, but I think it's an Alabama thing.
Yeah, also Alabama with Kyle Overstreet. Josh, what do you think about this pool number 5?
Yeah, I agree. Alabama gets the edge here. I don't know that it's a wide edge, but it's an edge. New Mexico, I will say I've played against New Mexico's Challenge Cup team. They brought their Challenge Cup team to the November North versus South down in Texas. They played against us, and they're scrappy. But I mean, they don't have the most conference experience out there, but they are a scrappy team. And they've played together a little bit. So I mean, they put their team in some tournaments and try to build some chemistry. So we'll see if that helps. New York, Connecticut is sizably down from their New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New England team they had last year. But yeah, I think Alabama gets a little bit of the nod for this pool here.
Yeah, so hopefully with New Mexico, we get to see some new talent this weekend. Joel, what do you think about pool 5?
I don't know. This one looks pretty even to me, like in a logical standpoint. Because like I think you're giving Alabama a little bit like either you're giving Alabama a little too much credit or New York not enough credit. Because you got my boy Greg Down, yeah, I call him the ex-wife. You sleep around on him, he'll beat you to death. And that's it. He always comes out from the back. Scott Hartling, always leading the way. And then you got Snyder. Like those are a lot of dudes that they could really get everything going. You can obviously like Daniel Caton, the golden standard to all the middle infield ever of all time. And then Andrew Hall, super underrated. I agree with you a little bit, like a lot of it over there. And then that first Overstreet I gave that credit to, I'm taking it away from him. This is the guy I was talking about. That was my bad on that one. Shout out to my boy Michael Rayner. He's sneaky. He played like real well for Ball 4, and then me and him we played a couple years back, and he could do it all. However, New York will still come around, and then I keep forgetting Mr. Joe Boland himself. You know, let's see if he could be one of the first ones to win Rookie of the Year back to back. New Mexico, if anyone plays like that, like the way they play, like Honeycutt plays, if everyone plays like he does, like for instance Garrett Cap, I play with him in the military all the time, and all those dudes are not just scrappy, but they all like stay pretty poised. Like their first at bat and their last at bat, they tend to look the exact same way, which is a great thing. They stay with the same mentality. I think it's pretty even. But honestly, I'm going to lean towards New York only because, like, I don't know. It's just like
Alabama's got some stadium power. Hall, uh, Caton, Torrey Means off the bench, Josh Cardwell played with Cut Force Sports. And then look at all the shortstops. Some of these guys are going to be, I think, like Harris is going to be in the outfield probably. But Raspberry, Caton, Rayner, you get solid infield. So, yeah, Alabama's looking good there, but they could be upset for sure. Final pool, number 6, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio. Georgia's got a little bit of a prime time / Magnum Bennett feel with Tyler Story. It'd be fun to see Tyler Story go off this week. So pretty good team. You have Matthew Brady, who played with Monsta, Rod Armour on the mound, tough as they get. Jarvis Riggins, a professional hitter. Indiana's got the same problem as Ohio. It's winter up here. It's just not easy to play. But they have a West Point softball feel of this team. Pretty much everyone there's played with West Point or against them for years in Indiana. Kyle Johnson, Travis Dale. Might be a little light on the power. They got a couple lefties in there. And then Team Ohio, what would this be rated point-wise, Josh? What do you think? Major?
Well, John, myself,
Yeah.
Kessler, Radich, Rec, it's a major team. Yeah.
Major team. Dave Kessler, the veteran. Dave Johnson moved to Ohio. Kirsten running center field. Brock Frenzel just keeps
Statistician is the correct defensive position for Brock Frenzel. Statistician.
Yeah. Isaiah Werlo, kind of an underrated player. John Radich told me 3 years ago he wasn't a major list player.
Goes out and wins a major.
All right. So, well, Josh, you're in this pool. It's a tough one. What do you think?
It looks like at least one tie in this pool. It's 100% fact. So we play Georgia at noon on Friday, and so I've been told that Roderick won't be there for the pool play games, which is a huge plus for us. But sounds like a tie no matter what. And so Georgia's got good ball players, right? Joe, as you called out, JoJo, Tyler, Jay, Mags, Matt Brady, Roderick. I mean, they've got a good amount of experience. They're a good team. Indiana has played together a lot, so don't discount that. Like you said, you mentioned West Point.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have played or play for West Point, and have played together for quite some time. So they do have a lot of built-in chemistry there. Gosh damn it! In theory, we should win this freaking pool.
It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. I think it comes down to us in Georgia in that game that we play against each other at noon. They'll have the benefit of having played before that. We'll be fresh. So, we'll see what happens. I think everyone keep an eye on Fish. Fish is going to be playing a lot of middle infield for us. He played both outfield and infield last year. He'll play a lot of infield, probably middle for us this weekend. Trying to see some younger guys. Steven Smith, BB from TG. I think he'll get some PT. I mean, everyone hopefully. And then as you mentioned too, DW, Isaiah Werlo, Ike, out of the Cleveland area, who has been a solid ball player for some years. And I'm glad that we were able to get him on the team and let him showcase a little bit.
Yeah, Dombrowski and Record probably doing the pitching. Georgia finished 3rd last year, and an interesting note about Indiana, none of the Rock Run guys. I guess there was a little bit of a tiff with them, and they decided to play somewhere else. But that team they could have handpicked some of those Rock Run guys and strengthened their roster. Dave, what do you think about the final pool here?
I think that if some of the Rock Run guys had went with Indiana, this would be the pool to watch. Georgia has a very good team. Rod not being there for the pool play could be the difference in whether or not Georgia wins this against Ohio. Ohio, though, has a loaded roster. Got probably the 2nd worst center fielder in the game out there. But other than that, I think that Ohio should probably win this. Biscuit being one of the best defensive pitchers in the game, he's going to be really solid. I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think it might start in here going into the conference season. So that's always good for him. But I say Ohio wins this, especially if Rod's not there for the pool play. if Rod's there, that might be your tie that Kirsten's talking about.
Yeah, and Indiana also missing Austin Daw, who moved to Florida and is playing on Florida's team. Joel, what are your thoughts here on Georgia, Indiana, Ohio?
Yeah, I was immediately gonna go for the Roderick, like not necessarily overlooked, and everyone knows how good he is. I just would like to hear everyone mention that because like he's a good pitcher. He can hit. I'm talking about the bulldog effort. Like I've seen him lose in the first game of the tournament and come back like 9, 10, 12 games, blistering heat. Like you don't cramp, bro. Like nothing's wrong with you. Like you're just ready to go all the time. Okay, very well. But him not being there, exactly what you said there, is I don't know how many tournaments I've been in where I was like, it's just bull play. And then Monday morning quarterbacking comes and you'd be like, why did we do that in that first game? Like, it's just like, shout out to my boy Culbertson. He's quite underrated. I play with him military ball. Matt Brady. There's a Mr. Magnum here. Shout out to my boy Mr. Magnum. Yeah, let me tell you something. And then Indiana, that's the one I was just mentioning right now to one of my boys. I was just like, there's no rock run guys there. Like they could have, given Ohio a run for their money a little bit, but I'm pretty John Williams is gonna play short, right? And Kyle Fisher is gonna play middle. That's what I'm hoping. That'll be the best of the era. I love seeing Williams at short. Everybody's like, what do you guys do play? I'm like, wait till you see this. This is unbelievable. Like, he's outstanding. I saw rummaging through a bunch of videos on YouTube. I saw Record playing middle like a couple of years ago. I was like, that makes a lot of sense because he comes out there, he just snags things like no problem. Dave Johnson, that's my boy for and then you got Dombrowski. Listen, after he beat up on the superpower Dan Smith a couple years ago, like for that year MPT, like I was just like, I'm a huge fan ever since then. So it's just like, Kirsten's all right. Yeah, he'll probably do he'll probably make sure he ties with best center fielder somewhere.
Yeah, Jason Magnum's actually playing prison softball today in Kissimmee, so he was going to join us, but at the last minute he couldn't make it. So our final segment before we wrap it up is your final 4 picks. Any volunteers to go first? I'll put the pool play picture back on so you can see all the teams. I mean, I can go first. Obviously, I think Florida's going to be in the championship. They always find a way to be there, even if they lose some games and aren't clicking on all cylinders. Texas won it last year. They're tough. Kentucky. And then you always have the possible upsets like we had with Georgia last year, Colorado. But I'm going to go, I'm going with Texas again. Texas over Kentucky with Florida third. And I got to pick a fourth. Let's go with Tennessee fourth. Who wants to go next?
Okay. Yeah, so top 4, Florida, Texas, Kentucky, and I'm going to go, I'm stuck between California and Louisiana. I'll go California. To win it, I'm going to go Kentucky versus Florida in the championship. And I'm going to give the nod to my boy Pink. I'm going to say Kentucky wins it again.
Kentucky wins it. So I have a poll up on Old Scout. Everybody can pick their winner. Also have the tournament preview out late this afternoon. What do you got, Dave?
I'm going to take a dark horse to win it, and I'm going to say Cali's going to win it against Florida in the championship with Ohio finishing third and Kentucky finishing fourth.
Ha!
That's some wild picks, Dave.
It's a pretty wild pick.
You never know what's going to happen,
You don't, but you definitely have different levels of teams in this tournament. But we saw teams come close. Joel, what do you think? Top 4.
There's only so many crazy things you can see. There's so many ways this whole bracket can go, like left, right, up, down, friends become enemies, enemies become friends, you become enlightened, you walk through an enchanted forest. Like, man, it's like if all my friends win, I'm gonna go with Virginia wins, California wins, Arizona wins, and New York wins. That's like all my friends.
Uh-oh.
Like logically speaking, then you got Florida, Texas, Ohio, Kentucky, boom. So like, but it's hard. It's hard not to pick Florida all over again. It's hard. It's hard not to go back to back. I don't think Purcell's gonna let you lose. I think they're gonna be running polls if they lose one game. So I don't really see it. I say Florida
Yeah.
in the end is gonna be Ohio, Kentucky, Florida, and Texas. I say Texas second. I'll go Ohio third, Kentucky fourth.
Yeah, I'm from Ohio, so I'm rooting for Ohio, but I'd love to see Kentucky, Tennessee, or Virginia, maybe California, make a run at this thing. All right, I appreciate everybody coming in. Safe travels if you are going. I think Josh and myself are going to the Challenge Cup. I wanted to make a couple announcements before we go around on that last. The launch, you guys are all bat company guys. This is going on Thursday or all
That's
weekend?
tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yep, starts Wednesday.
Yep. Or today. Jesus, today's Wednesday.
Today. Okay,
Today.
the launch is going on, so you can try out new 240 bat models. All the bat companies are down there, I believe. Southwest Invite, USSSA big off-season tournament, February 4th through the 5th in Phoenix, or in Arizona. I think it's Phoenix. And did I have anything else? Oh, that's a strobe video again.
Death grip on the knob. Oh my Lanta.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention Rodney Donaldson, the coach of the women's Team 24, former conference player, senior ball player now. The guy hits it as hard as anyone has ever hit the ball. He is going into the Troy College Hall of Fame. He played basketball and baseball, batted over 300, had some game-winning hits in the playoffs. Basketball player as well, so two-sport star at Troy, and actually was on a football team briefly. So he's going in the Hall of Fame. Check out USSSA Live this weekend. David Garland couldn't be here with us. He's getting real busy with his entrepreneurship businesses that he works with. We want to thank him for all of his time. He's welcome back to host anytime, but he's not really going to be able to make it as much. So we're looking for a new host, Patrick or Porty, if you're listening. Maybe we could talk. Or if anyone has a good suggestion for a host, we're taking that. And then announcers for this weekend. So starting at 4 o'clock Friday, we have the full production. We're trying to get a play-by-play and color analyst for each game. There's 5 games Friday. And then Saturday, starting at 3 o'clock, is the semifinals. We're trying to get announcers for those 6 games Saturday. So all of you who've done that, I'll probably be hitting you up for one game that fits into your schedule. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. We won't know the bracket until 4 o'clock on Friday, so it's hard to pick announcers before that. So let's go around the room real quick. Just wrap it up. Josh, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, congratulations to Rodney. That's awesome. Suncoast guy there. And shout out to his son too, Trey, who's a 2-sport athlete at Auburn, basketball and football. So good for him. And Auburn's having a pretty good year. So congratulations to his son. Congratulations to him. And swing Suncoast.
Yeah, Dave, what do you got?
Just congratulations to Rodney, of course, and to everybody that made any of these Challenge Cup rosters, from E all the way through, whatever it may be. Just congratulations. Go out there, represent your state, do what you're supposed to do. I mean, it's a great tournament. Can't wait to play in one.
Yeah, I wanted to mention the winners last week, the E and D. The E was Central Florida, won in the F game, and the D was Northern California, I believe is what Stroh said. The brackets are currently down on USSSA. There is a programmer working on all those pool play and brackets. They're done and they were out, but then something happened in the system and there's an error. Joel, what do you got? Final thoughts?
Oh yeah, no, congrats to everybody who made the Challenge Cup. Like in the sense of where like that's our first Challenge Cup, and then just along those lines of like every tournament that you ever go to and you're on a new team and you make friends with that one guy, you never play again, but they become best friends for the rest of your life. Like makes softball just leave it better than how you found it. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, like everybody has an opinion. They're like assholes. You know, if you just relax, it wouldn't hurt so bad.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate everybody coming in. Bernie in the background, Eric for helping with the agenda, Kelly getting us on Facebook, etc. Thanks for all your work, and safe travels to all the men's and women's teams, and make those memories.